anyways, so we've got, I've got a music track, and then I've got a couple of different, and you can see up here in my window, you can see these, the previews of them. So I've got a music track right here. So that just has a waveform. There's no video component. It's just music. And then I've got a couple of movies, a still image, movie. And then I have a cover, magazine cover, which I'm going to try to drop in there. And then a logo, which is a PNG that has a clear background. And another version of the logo, which is an EPS. And I want to show you that. It doesn't look good. And then that's pretty much everything that I've got in there. So I'm going to start a new composition. All right, so I have the new composition right here. I showed you before that you can take your footage, for example, and drag and drop it to the new composition icon, and then it will automatically set up a composition that is the size of your footage. I don't want to do that. I want to have a standard composition size, and then I will edit and scale the footage down. So I'm going to go ahead and start a new composition, and I'm going to pick just the first HD TV. So 720, and this is a 29.97 frame rate. We haven't talked about the differences between frame rates and stuff. Some of you may have, and this is becoming more and more prevalent, some of you may have gotten like newer big flat screen TVs. And I don't even know if you'll notice this, but it drives me crazy. And if you Google this, you'll be able to see it. There's a thing called the soap opera effect. And what that is a movie, a film, when played on like one of these flat screen TVs that has the frame rate incorrect, it will go from looking like a motion picture to looking like it was filmed with a VCR camcorder, right? And that has to deal with the frame rate. So we're going to get into frame rate a little later when we talk about like converting some of these things. But just know, if you want to get like a little head start, you can Google HDTV soap opera effect. It's pretty weird. So we're just going to pick this HDTV right here, the first one. Easy. It's 1280.
It's because only a trained eye can see it.
I don't think so. I mean, it looks so obvious, but yeah. Well, you know me, I'm like real picky. I'm like the princess and the pea. So do you guys even know what that story is, what that reference is? Okay, just check.
Are you the princess or
yes.
the pea?
I'm the pea. So anyways, here we go. I've made my new document, and I'm going to zoom out just so that we can see this. Now I'm going to show you a technique that we haven't really messed with before in this application. So I'm going to go ahead and start off with my, I'm going to just put in the logo first. So I want to show you what happens when I put in this EPS. Now this is a vector graphic, and the way that I brought it in was as footage, not as a composition. So when I drag and drop it in, it comes in at a specific size, right? And if I try to scale it, it only has like a finite amount of like information, so it looks bad. Now, if I imported it in a different way, it would be fine. But what I did is, I'm not going to use that one anyways. I have a high resolution PNG, right? Millions of colors. By the way, it's RGB is the color mode. You remember way back when we were doing our mastheads, and you had to do one in CMYK and one in RGB. You don't want to use CMYK on After Effects because it needs to be RGB. So I'm going to go ahead and drag and drop in this RGB ping, and I'm going to scale it down. And if I don't hold down the shift key, it's going to look like that. So I got to hold down the shift key, and I'm going to put it up here. Now, one thing that I want you to notice is when I scale it, look at how it's scaling. All right, it is growing out of the center, right? And the reason why it's growing out of the center is because that's where the registration point is on this image. Now, that's going to be a problem later on for what I want to do. Because remember, I want it to be up here in the corner, and then I want it to shrink down. But if I do this with the registration point in the center, let me bring it back up. I'll do it to 100%. If I do it with the registration point in the center, it's going to cause a problem. So it's going to do that, and then I'll have to shift it over. So I'm going to bring this in one more time. And I'm going to zoom out. It's not going to be that large. So, and let's go down to 33%. What I want to do is I'm going to double click on this clip, on this logo. And this works with anything, with a movie clip, with a still photo. If you double click on it, it opens it up into like the isolation mode in Illustrator. You're editing just the clip that you double clicked. So I'm going to move this registration point, and I'm going to move it up here. And actually, I'm going to zoom out a little more so that you can see that I'm actually going to move this registration point to the tip top corner like that. Okay. Now I'm in isolation mode here. When I click back here to composition, you see how it kicked it over to the side. And now when I move it and I hold down the shift key, it's going to scale it in this direction. So it's just going to make it easier on myself later. Okay, so that's done. That's exactly where I want it to be. So now I'm going to put in, and also I want you to see, let's go to my composition settings. In this case, it's probably, I don't know how long your movie clips are. If you're using a movie clip that is like 5 minutes long, your composition needs to be at first at least 5 minutes long. If you're just using a clip that you shot on your phone that is 15 seconds, then you should make your composition length about 20 seconds or 30 seconds so that you have some wiggle room in there. I have set my composition to be 1 minute, 5 seconds because none of my clips are longer than a minute. And so if I zoom out on my timeline, that's zooming in. If I zoom out, you'll see that it has generated a still, because it's an image, it's not a video clip. It's given me basically a clip that goes all the way to the end. And as you know, I can shorten that clip by just clicking and dragging on the end, and I can make it last only 5 seconds. I can make it last 25, whatever. But I'm going to go ahead and leave it like this for now. Now I'm going to bring in my still image, and that is this JPEG. I'm going to bring this in. So I'm just going to click on it and drag it into my window. Okay, and this time I'm not going to use the whole image anyways because I don't want all the extra junk. So I'm going to go ahead and move it and shrink it down. And since I'm not, in this case, I'm not going to be moving it even once the movie is started. I'm just going to keep it still. I'm not going to go through all the trouble of, and it's not trouble, but I'm not going to change the registration point. I'm fine with the registration point the way it is because that's how it's going to stay, right like that. Okay, now I will have to move my logo back up here above it. There's my logo. Now, I want this to hold for like a second and then fade. Now, since it is a still image, it also gave me enough to last the whole movie. So I don't need it. I'm going to come to the end and I'm going to count down to like maybe 2 seconds or 3 seconds. So let's play. I'm going to zoom in on my timeline a little bit, give myself so I can see. It looks like it's about 4 seconds or so. So I'm just going to hit play. And then it disappears. That's actually too long. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it back a little more. Now the cool thing is I'm not destructively editing this. That means if I need it to be longer, all I got to do is click and make it longer. So this right about here should be fine. So let's see. 1, 2. Okay, I might make it a tad longer. Now I want to add the movie part. So I'm going to go ahead and add my this where it's coming out of the garage. So I'm going to drag and drop it onto my my composition window, my stage. And the cool thing is I can keep it huge like this, or I can scale it down a little bit. And that's why if I'd made my document to be the size of my clips, if I tried to enlarge the clips, I'd lose resolution. But since I made the document is actually smaller resolution wise than the clips, I can actually scale them down a little bit. So I'm going to scale it down just a tad because we're only going to use this for a second. And what I want is the concept of it coming out of a garage and being loaded up on this flatbed. So maybe I'll do something like this. Okay, so let's see. Now my movie clip is about, 10, 11 seconds. So now I'm like, and I'm gonna go ahead and, well, I'll leave it on so you can hear it. So that's not, oh, my clip itself is screwed up. So I might have to re-import it, but I'm gonna leave it because that's what I'm gonna use. Because I can see that it's kind of jerky. So, but anyways, there it is pulling out. I know that I have a version of that clip that works. So anyways, what I'm going to do is, now remember my movie clip is now at the top of my order. So I'm going to move it under the logo. And I don't want this movie clip to be playing on top of my still image. So all I have to do is click on the clip and move it in the timeline. So what I'm going to do is move it to right about here. So now it's going to play like this. Now, of course, it did a hard cut. I don't want to do a hard cut. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in on my timeline so you can see it a little better. Now we're going to start doing that transform stuff. Oh, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to shorten this clip because I don't need the whole thing. I'm just planning ahead. Let's see. It's going to show up 1, 2, 3, right about there. So now I'm going to go ahead and do the transform on both of these. And actually, I don't really have to do both of them because what I'm going to do is on this clip, I'm going to adjust the opacity. Really simple. So I'm adjusting the opacity, and I'm going to come to the beginning of this clip, and I'm going to do the opacity. I'm going to move my, whoops, I'm going to move my opacity to, okay, hit the stopwatch, opacity at 0, and then move this over, hit the diamond, make my opacity at 100. What I did is I just rearranged my window accidentally. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this. I can't reach it because my zoom window is in the way. So if you have that problem, you could always go to Window, Workspace, Reset Default. And now I'm back. So if you ever mix up your windows, that's all you've got to do. So let's take a look at how this works. I'm going to go ahead and fit it in the window. And now we'll see, we'll start from the beginning. So it fades and that comes out. Boy, that clip is terrible. Also, I do want to fade in my logo. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up, hit my transform, hit my opacity, make it 0% there, and then make it, let's see, probably should fade in fairly quickly. So I'm going to hit my diamond and I'm going to make it go to 100% here. All right, and then I'm going to go to my scale, because what happens is once the video starts playing, I want my scale to change. So I'm going to say scale, and I'm going to start there. And when it comes to here, I'm going to hit the diamond next to scale, and I'm going to scale it down so that it's up there. Fades in, starts moving. And if I don't like the scale, where the scale is happening, I just move it over. That's too slow for my taste, but we'll do that. All right, so now you guys know how to do all of this stuff, like the rest of all this stuff. It's not a problem. So let's see. I think I made my video too short. There we go. All right, so that's all that. Now what I'm going to do, so any questions about how to set like opacity and transitions between the different layers, right? Any problems? Speak now. Okay. So now let's talk about adding in the audio, because everything else that I'm doing is just standard stuff. Like eventually I'm going to add in the magazine cover, and I'm going to have it, tilt and rotate a little bit and come in and all that stuff. No biggie. So let's talk about adding the audio. Well, I've got this cheesy rock song, and I'm going to put it in here. Now, one of the things that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to trim your audio. So remember, I said that I only want this video to be about 15 seconds long. So if I wanted to trim my audio at 15 seconds, what I have to do is put my my playhead at this point in the audio. I'm just going to open this up so we can see it. So this is really, really important. So you put the playhead where you are, and you either, and I'm going to give you two, because one gets rid of the audio clip in front of the playhead, and one trims it behind the playhead, like gets rid of the stuff behind it. So if you hit Option, and then the bracket on your keyboard, if you hit the left bracket, it's going to delete what's towards the beginning of your audio clip. And if I hit Option and then the right bracket, it's going to it's going to get rid of everything that is past your playhead. Does that make sense? So you might want to write that down. It's Option left bracket or Option right bracket. Do you guys have an Option key on the Chromebook? So you have a Command key. So it might be Command, whatever the modifier key is. So try, I don't have a Chromebook in front of me, so try one of those. It's going to be something like that. So anyways, so now I've cut it, but again, this isn't destructive editing. So what I mean is, if I want more music, you see it's grayed out. It's still there. But if I want more, all I got to do is click in there and make it longer. So does that make sense? So now let's talk about fading that audio in. So what we're going to do is I'm going to come over here, and since I want to fade in, I'm going to hit the audio levels stopwatch right here. And then I'm going to come to, like, I don't know, like right about here. Oh, actually, this is a great place for me to show you this. So let's listen to this cheesy audio clip. So it starts off with the bass, right? And then for kind of a while, it's just bass. And then it cuts into like all the instruments. So I kind of don't want, like, if I'm fading up, I kind of don't want so much of my music to be just the bass line. So I'm going to move my audio playhead over here, and I'm going to try to, on this, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that bass line. So now we're starting right here. All right, so now I can move this over. And now what I'm going to do is I can set up my audio levels at this. I'm going to put it at negative. Actually, I was going to try to do negative 200. And yeah, it drops all the way down to the 192. So 192 is the official lowest. So then I'm going to move up a little bit, hit my little diamond, and then go back to 0 decibels. And so I might have to move it over a little bit, but let's see. So that works out okay. I kind of think that it's a little loud, so I can adjust the volume by going, let's do -20. Ooh, that's too much. So I'm going to come back here, move to my next audio level thing. Let's just go -5. Oh, I keep doing that. Way too long, so I'm going to move it over here. I might have to adjust this one to be not quite so low, but the point is you can adjust it here in the waveform, have some fun with it, do some good stuff, figure out what you can do. Now, again, because I cut stuff off at the beginning, I'm going to have to give myself a little more in the end, and it's still there. And to fade out, it would be the same thing, just like it's exactly like adjusting the opacity on an image is how you just adjust the intensity of the sound, the volume level. So does that make sense to everybody? So basically, that's all I want you to do is to create some kind of video that's got these elements in there. Something, and then of course, add some text. You know, I'm going to have type swoop in on this side. It says something like, you know, garage find or something like that, and I'll animate the text coming in. So is that clear to everybody? I do want you to have like text, kind of use everything that we've done. Now, if you go to Google and you just do a search for royalty-free music, right? Free audio files. You'll find there's a bunch of websites out there, but a lot of them want you to register, and it's fine. I mean, if you're going to be, I would stay away from like shady looking ones. Like this Zapsplat has got a bunch of stuff on there. This one, Ben Sound, is where I got my music from. It works pretty well. They've got different genres of music and different lengths. I mean, most of them though are going to be, I think, more than a minute and a half. So you've got some good stuff to play with, and you can preview it and or download it. But you're probably, I think you're going to have to wind up, depending on how many things you download, you'll probably have to wind up, you know, setting up, giving them your email address or something like that. So, but you can find this kind of stuff online. And of course, if you have MP4s, or if you, as some of you have talked about, I mean, I don't condone this, but if you know, grab video footage or audio footage from like YouTube or whatever, as long as it's for school, you can drop it into your, you know, drop it into your document. But it just goes through like, you know, you can just listen to it, and if you like it, download it. So, and they've got, you know, cool music. And even if you do want to use it, so let's look at here. So, so here's Epic Music, right? If you want to, you go to download it, and now this is like in euros, but it's not really. I mean that's like, I think 34 euros is, I think it's less than $50, I think. But you know, it's up to you. What I would not, you don't want to get hit with like a copyright violation or whatever if you're going to put stuff on YouTube or whatever. So, and then, so the question is, so that's how you get music. You download it, it'll be in your downloads folder, and then you can, you know, pop it up there, or you can get music however you borrow stuff from YouTube or whatever.